Well, Eddie, so big fight happening this weekend for UFC. Some really good fights. A lot of guys, when you look up the people who have won fight of the night, there's a lot on this card. The main event. We'll start off with the main event.
Yeah,
Sean
the main
O'Malley
event
versus Aljamain
Sean
Sterling.
O'Malley versus Aljamain Sterling is basically a movie plot waiting to happen. It's basically you're watching a movie. You've got the under-respected champion who's done nothing but have like the longest win streak in bantamweight history and have the most title defenses consecutively in bantamweight history, going up against Dana White's chosen one, Sean O'Malley, who's 16-1-1, came up on Dana White's Contender Series, just knocking people out, putting up highlight after highlight, and now it's kind of turned into this big star with his own podcast and lots of pink hair and pink Lamborghinis and hanging out with questionable rappers.
Questionable rappers.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, this is a big step because he has been set up to take this route, and we know Aljamain Sterling has basically he's the most in bantamweight, most title defenses in a row in bantamweight history. It's only 3, but it's still the most. He's killing it right now. And then they say he's beaten 4 of the top 5 contenders, and the 5th one he doesn't want to fight because they're like brothers, so they don't want to fight. But Sean O'Malley, This is a big fight for him. If he wins this, if Sean O'Malley can win this, does he kind of go in as a poster boy of UFC now, even though he does have everything out? They kind of use him as, hey, this is now somebody we really want to push?
Oh, they really want to push him even before this. But if Sean O'Malley wins this, dare I say it, he enters Conor McGregor territory.
Okay.
Because just like Conor, he was kind of spoon-fed opponents. And like I said, he was kind of pointed out as the chosen one. And if he gets this title, he is entering that sphere. And God help us, if you're like me and you don't enjoy the smack talk as much, we're in for it if Sean O'Malley wins this one.
Yeah, no, it seems like everything is being set up, but Aljamain Sterling is just really fighting really well right now, and he's had that 893-day reign. So that should tell you anytime you start getting close to 4 digits on a title reign, it gets pretty impressive. If he beats Sean O'Malley, he handles his business, he wins the fight. Who's next in line for a shot at bantamweight?
Oh man, well the question is, will he ever be willing to fight his teammate and partner Merab Dvalishvili? And right now the answer is kind of no, but he is the number 1 ranked contender. But as teammates, they don't want to fight each other. He's already beaten Peter Yan at 5, Corey Sandhagen. It could be Chito Vera. Marlon Vera is opening up the pay-per-view at bantamweight against Pedro Munoz. So he is currently ranked number 6. So he could be next. But I get the feeling that after this fight, Sterling's going to take a vacation.
He's going to take a vacation?
Because he just fought in May. Yeah, he just fought in May. And most champions don't turn around this quickly. But the UFC is now basically a slave to its own schedule, and they needed a champion for this card, and they had him penciled in, or they had at least his belt penciled in for Boston this weekend.
Yeah.
And if he hadn't agreed to fight on this night, they would have made O'Malley an interim title shot.
Okay. So
and
now
Dana White would have been running him down so much.
Is this a thing too? Since O'Malley is such the teacher's pet for Dana White, is this a thing that if the fight is somewhat close, like if it goes to decision, if any of that happens, is there a chance that they just try and run this back?
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. If it's really close, I wouldn't be surprised. And it's also in Boston.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, the Massachusetts guys are, I'm not going to say they're not up on the up and up, but he is an O'Malley.
I'll just say that when Jack Harlow showed up at a Celtics game, all the other rappers had to tell him that rappers don't go to Boston. That rappers don't go to Boston games is what he was told. Now we'll just say that. That should give you enough context of what we're talking about. Talking to Eddie Cross. Follow him at Fight Night ATX and at Eddie Experience is how you can follow Eddie Cross. So what else is in the co-main event? You have a women's strawweight title bout. What's to watch for in that fight?
Oh, the co-main event might steal the show, dude. Zhang Weili is a 2-time strawweight champ, and she is just powerful everywhere. And this might be one of the first times maybe in strawweight history where both women have fight-changing power. The strawweight it's 115 pounds. They're very small, especially after they cut weight. So both of them coming into the fight might weigh $1.25. Okay, so after they rehydrate.
Yeah.
But so usually at that size, you don't get fight-changing power. But both these ladies, Wiley and Amanda Lemos from Brazil, both of them have that kind of power. And this one could be a banger.
There you go. I know.
Yeah.
All right, so what other fights on this card would you say are the ones you got to watch?
That one, let's see. Like I said, Marlon Vera and Pedro Munoz opening up the pay-per-view. That one's going to be really good. But also, kind of in the middle of the main card, Ian Machado Gary versus Neil Magny. Ian Machado Gary, he's another one that is kind of earmarked for stardom. So he's from Ireland also. Nowhere near as annoying as Conor McGregor yet, but he's getting there.
He's not there yet, but
he's going up against.
He's one of the guys that Dana White is telling, hey, if you get a little bit more obnoxious, you may get some more money in your fights.
And he's working on it, let me tell you. But he's facing Neil Magny, who's you call him a journeyman, but he's a few years back, I labeled him as my fighter of the year for winning 5 fights in 1 year.
Jeez.
Which, let me tell you, does not happen often at all.
No, that does not seem likely. That's one of those ones you're like, how many fights do you have? 7. Like, how many did you win? None. They just kept sending me back out there. Yeah,
but he is basically the gatekeeper of the division. I never fought for a title, but he will you come up there too cocky, and he will knock you back down to size. So that one's kind of a prove-it fight for Ian Machado Gary. And then at the top of the prelim card, former middleweight champ Chris Weidman coming off a nasty broken leg.
Yeah, no, Nasty does not make 2 years. It's been over 2. He fought April of 2021?
Basically a toothpick leg break where your leg snaps in half there.
And then didn't heal right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, is he going to be able to, I mean, he's 39 years old, so he's already kind of on the back end of a career anyway. Is he going to be able to make any sort of comeback? Do you have any faith in him in this fight?
Not really. I mean, honestly, he wasn't doing that great before the leg break. He'd lost 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
And then let's see, 6 out of 8. So he wasn't doing well beforehand. But I think this is more of a I don't want to go out like that fight.
Yeah. Get one more win and try and walk away as a winner as opposed to, or at least just not be carted out of the ring.
Exactly. At least just show that you're still alive, you're still here, and you don't want that to be the last time people see you.
There you go. All right, we'll come back and we'll do some predictions at the end of the phone call. We got Eddie Cross from Fight Night ATX, at Fight Night ATX and at Eddie X Experience to follow him. But let's talk about some other things happening in the MMA world. We know that John Jones basically came out today. Colby Covington came out and said that John Jones has knocked him off a card and said that John Jones will not fight on the same card. John Jones, of course, is, one of the biggest names in MMA right now. So he can pull his rank. Is when you have a fight like this, these guys aren't close to the same weight. This is not a fight that can ever happen in the MMA world.
No, it's not.
Because, I mean, it would have to.
There's a big backstory with those two.
No, and I get
they were.
Go for it.
They were roommates in college, so they've probably seen each other at their worst. Because, when you know someone in college, you've pretty much you've got the best stories about them.
Yeah.
You've seen them at their best. You've seen them at their worst. You've seen them do the dumbest things possible that 18, 19-year-old can do.
And if we've seen what Colby Covington does on TV on purpose and what John Jones gets reported in the news, I bet they do a bunch of dumb stuff.
Exactly. And Colby is saying John doesn't want him on the card because he's going to embarrass him in the press conferences. But let's just face it, Colby's a D-bag. And I don't think anyone really wants to be around him, period, especially when you're over here playing a part to hype yourself up. You're going to tear down anyone that's in the area. So I wouldn't want him near me either.
So I'm a wrestling guy, and there's always this thing where you're not supposed to build up feuds that you can't ever make money on. It doesn't make sense. Right. And I just don't get this. And I think Colby Covington knows enough what he's doing to say, all right, I'll be able to do this. And, if I win, great. But even if I lose, I'll be able to keep getting fights for a while because people just want to see me lose. Or people want to see me win, if they're those people too. But these things, if you're Dana White, do you have to walk in and go, hey, man, no more, save that for the people you're fighting. I can't make any money off of you two arguing. it doesn't do me any good. Or do they do it where is this all setting up for a reality, one of the Ultimate Fighter shows?
No, the Ultimate Fighter they use, and they usually have a blow off where the coaches face each other.
So they can't do that either.
That's not going to be useful in this case. I think this is one of those things that Dana can't control.
Yeah.
It's Kobe hasn't been in the news much lately.
Okay.
He's supposed to have a welterweight title shot against Leon Edwards in London at some point, but they haven't signed it up officially yet. So I don't even know why he's bringing this up, considering that he's supposed to fight in London. Well, that's the plan, at least for now. So I don't know why it's even an issue.
No, I don't either.
But Kobe hasn't been talked about in a while.
That makes the most sense, is that he just wants his name back in the news. Someone else who loves their name in the news, Conor McGregor. They're supposed to fight Michael Chandler. That came out this week that now they don't know if it's even going to happen this year. It may wait till next year because he's going to have to get an exemption because he's not going to do the drug testing. And what a surprise, he doesn't want to do the drug testing when he bulked up massively. Conor did. Is this fight ever going to happen, or is this just more hype from Conor McGregor to keep his name in the press as long as it can? But he's never going to do the testing. He's never going to get clean to do the fight. Wait, is this fight going to happen?
Man, that is a great question, because this is one situation that we haven't seen before, where someone that everyone's pretty sure has been using steroids when he quote-unquote retired to actually heal from his leg break.
Yeah.
Because, he got his leg snapped in half against Dustin Poirier. So everyone's pretty sure he allegedly, I got to put that in quotes, allegedly has been roiding up. But he's basically jumped up weight class.
Yeah.
He's just like the Conor McGregor version of Barry Bonds now.
Yeah, he looks like Mark McGuire when he was hitting all them home runs.
Yeah, you put his picture from 2 years ago and this picture now side by side. They look like a bigger brother, maybe.
It does. So
So everyone's kind of waiting on him to. I don't know if he's trying to cycle off and see for himself that he's clean before he gets to that testing pool. But if he wants to fight this year, there's definitely going to have to be an exception made by the UFC from their own policies, and they'll do it because it's Conor, and Dana doesn't really care about the rules.
Well, no,
he just puts them in place for PR.
And that's the thing is Dana White is one of the alleged scummiest people on earth. But he knows, and this is, there's a class action suit that just recently was in the news that they gave it class certification of the lawsuit. It's been 8 years in the making of basically fighters saying Dana White has been screwing us out of money. You have Francis Ngannou who goes off and creates, which I love the name of it, gimmick fighting, because Dana White called it gimmick. With the names of, hey man, if we can become a star in UFC and we can maybe go off and do something else. And this class, is there going to be a change in UFC or MMA, or is Dana White and UFC basically just saying we can fight this off for the next 5-10 years? So why do we need to change anything?
They were definitely going to spend as much money as they can fighting it off. They're already lobbying Congress. They've been lobbying for years to keep this stuff down as it is. So they're not going to give up easily, even though it'll only cost them maybe $20 million a year.
But I mean, it's more about.
I don't want to get into numbers.
Well, no, it only matters. I'm talking more about the future of UFC and MMA. Is there going to be a point where they're going to have to start paying fighters a little bit more, or are fighters going to continue to try and walk away? Now we know Derek Lewis just came back, and he probably could have done something else, but it would have been a one and done. But he signs an 8-fight deal. Conor McGregor's still talking about doing stuff there. So a lot of guys are still doing stuff there. And Ngannou's the only one who really walked away. Do you think people are going to walk away more, or is this UFC understands how to keep their people?
If people do leave, it can only be at the highest level.
Yeah.
The people we're talking about, Conor, Francis Ngannou, Nate Diaz, who just fought Jake Paul for like $20 million.
Yep.
Those are the few people who can let their contract expire and go do something else. Pretty much everyone else, even Derek Lewis, he might have had a possibility of maybe facing Ngannou in the PFL with a pretty big guarantee. But I don't know for a fact, but I just know that Dana told him that if you do that, I'm not re-signing you ever.
Yeah. So it's
like one fight over here for a couple mil, or 8 fights over here where you could probably make maybe $8 million.
Yeah, and get the sponsorships and stretch it out for a lot longer and be in the eye and keep the sponsorship money for a little bit longer. No,
exactly.
I get it.
So at some point they'll start paying them more, but
not tomorrow.
The other issue is that definitely not tomorrow. Fighters also have this me against the world mentality where they think they can just do anything themselves, or they're so used to it being such a individual sport and doing everything themselves. that when someone else tries to like get everyone together, if someone offers this guy over here more money than he's seen in forever, they're just going to take the fights over here. And there's no, no one calls fighters scabs for breaking the picket line.
That's true.
There's no such thing.
Yeah, everybody is their own person. Talking to Eddie
They're
Cross.
gonna come together themselves.
We're talking to Eddie Cross from Fight Night. You can follow Fight Night at Fight Night ATX, and you can follow Eddie at Eddie Experience with the letter X. Eddie Experience is where you can find it. Eddie, before we let you go, give us a pick or two that people can really pick and feel good about for the fight tomorrow for UFC 292.
Oh, man. If you got $20 you never want to see again, I would put it on Aljamain Sterling to beat Sean O'Malley.
Okay.
It's a classic striker versus grappler matchup, and Sterling is a great wrestler, great jiu-jitsu fighter, and O'Malley just has to miss one before Sterling is all over him, dragging him to the ground and jumping on his back. So my money would be on Sterling. If you look at the co-main event with the women, Weili Zhang she is tough, man. I would put money on her in a heartbeat, facing anyone except Rose Namajunas. Yeah,
and I love that one. Apparently is even odds as well. So I like both those picks. Eddie Cross, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure we'll have you on again when we get some more good MMA news happening. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, my pleasure, Pat.
Eddie Cross there. You can follow him at Eddie Experience and at Fight Night ATX is where to follow them.